This Tuesday morning edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports. Brought to you by the one and only First Round Collectibles. Right now with our promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. What's your favorite sport? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, maybe wrestling, maybe even boxing, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. They still have sales items up to 50% off. And with our promo code, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. 20 becomes 30, 30 becomes 40, 40, 50, 50, 60. With our promo code Sports Addict, 10% off sales items and regular priced items. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today and find your heroes. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah, oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats.
And welcome. Good morning. Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and our friends at Total Apex Sports. Mark Sauter with you on Twitter, on YouTube. Good to be here. Not a lot going on in the NHL last night, but 13 games on the ice tonight. Plus, boys, we got to bounce back because that was a butt kicking when it comes to our best bets. But that's how it goes. That's okay. It's a new day, and let's get it started. At the top of your screen next to me, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his work on Winners and Whiners. You see him on Total Apex Sports talking all things college and professional sports alike. Andre, how we feeling on a Tuesday morning?
It's a new day. It's a really good thing for us, and I'm ready to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. And at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how we feeling on a Tuesday, bro?
Given the size of the slate today, I'm optimistic we'll do better than our best bets yesterday with a lot more options to choose from.
Yes, a lot. But I mean, in fairness, like those, I think looking back on it, the Washington under 2.5, that one was probably 50-50, but the other ones, man, I don't know. I texted you early, like that Washington game, we had a chance, but that Buffalo Seattle game, we held on to hope after one period, but when it's 3-2 after 20, it's hard to believe in that under hitting. So last night, again, not too much to take away from last night. Washington beats Calgary 5-2. Buffalo beats Seattle 6-2. Seattle and Flames both pretty much done. Of course, mathematically, there's a chance, but both those losses last night for those two teams, but that's not the story. Those two teams, they've been done. There's been hope, but not a lot. The Washington Capitals have not completed because there's still a few weeks left. I believe the playoffs start a month today. I believe we are exactly a month away from the NHL playoffs. If not today, tomorrow. The Washington Capitals, boys, they have done it, and they are in the playoffs. Washington in that last wildcard spot, 75 points. Not only that, Philadelphia playing Toronto tonight at Wells Fargo, they have 76 points. So that third place in the net is precarious. Detroit, 74 points. Islanders, 73 points. Buffalo, 71 points. Pittsburgh and New Jersey feels like a loser leaves town match tonight between those two. 69 and 68 points collectively. What do we think, guys? What do we think? Washington's in. Andre, we'll start with you. I know there's a lot of time left in this season, but also not a lot of time. Is Washington, I think you actually said this verbatim in the chat last night, the group chat. Why is Washington inevitable? Does it feel like that, whether it's the wild card spot or the third place in the Met? Does it feel like Washington's just in now?
I mean, quite literally. They're in when all of us expected them to be in the gutter a month ago. So, I mean, I just don't know. I don't think they're going to ever go away at this point. The Flyers are falling apart. So even if the Red Wings or whoever decides, you know what, I actually want to make the playoffs, let me take this second wild card, suddenly the Capitals can also backdoor third place in the division. So the way it's going, they're winning games however they need to. They beat the Canucks the other day. Just pencil them in. Just accept it. You know, sometimes teams that on paper don't look like they should make it. It's called fun differential. 2022 Seattle Mariners fans, just embrace it. It's going to happen. They're going to win the cup. We're going to wonder how. They have a 40-year-old guy that pretty much just stands in one spot and prays for the best. So, go down.
Yeah, dude, I was telling you guys, I've already said this at length to like 19 different people before it was even 8 a.m. Watching Ovi with a pull goalie is just the most frustrating, embarrassing thing. Like, listen, if I was 50 goals away from Wayne Gretzky's record, would I do differently? Probably not. I'd probably do worse. However, watching Ovi with a pull goalie, just sitting at the red line, just waiting for a pass. Like, he's so out of breath. He's so tired. Like, poor guy. You scored 2 goals last night, man. Just go on the bench, get a rest. You'll be back in a couple days. That's always a tough watch. He's so gassed on the empty net at the end of the game, but he just stays on there for as long as possible. John, what about you, man? I feel like you expect Washington to fade away, which is a reasonable thought. What do you think now that Washington's finally made it into a playoff spot? Seemed inevitable.
Yeah, I said on yesterday's show, I felt like they were going to have a playoff spot for at least one day, the way they were going, and sure enough, they got it. And in hindsight, the Capitals' money line seemed like the best bet yesterday, and I probably should have taken it. But yeah, I'm not surprised to see it at this point now, just because of how long the Capitals have hung on. Do I think they're going to make the playoffs? Still no. But I think they deserve a tip of the cap at the very least. They've been playing really well of late, and especially they've had a big West Coast road trip. Let's add that into the equation here with one of those wins over the Vancouver Canucks, especially. So I don't know. Like I mean, I don't think this will hold at all, but you know. I think I have to start taking it more seriously than I have the entire year. I'll give it that much. I still think Detroit and Philadelphia are going to hang on, but Capitals deserve a lot of credit. They've really been defying the odds, at least from the three of us, pretty much the entire year.
So I do not see on DraftKings. I know, Andre, you got DraftKings always up there. Maybe you can look. I can't see on DraftKings a Washington Capitals to make the playoffs bet on at least this side of the border. I do see, let me just pull this up, for the Washington Capitals to win the Stanley Cup is plus 15,000. That I do see. But I don't see to make the playoffs. Maybe you do on your side.
Oh, I have Penguins. I don't have Capitals, which is kind of disrespectful. But
Yeah, very
yeah, I
much
see a
so.
lot of teams here. The Wild are on here. Blues are on here. No
Yeah.
Capitals though. These fools don't know.
Well, they don't want to lose money. That's the thing, right? That's the that's the thing. Um, I was saying this to you guys too pre-show before we get into the games tonight because there's a lots of really compelling matchups and a lot of playoff implications. I was saying to you guys pre-show that the more like I thought like Washington played well last night, but I thought that that was more Calgary looking awful than Washington looking good. I have come to the conclusion that fighting for that last wild card spot and even the last spot in the Met, to think Washington, Detroit, Islanders, even Buffalo now, Philly, like to think of these guys as good teams because they're making this playoff push. I just think we got a bunch of mediocre to below average teams fighting for that last spot. Like in the West, Nashville, good team. Vegas, assuming they hold on, good team with a lot of potential. Kings, good team, underachieving all year long since that hot start. But in that East, man, I just feel like whoever gets that last spot, I just feel like they're fine. Like there's no good teams really battling for that last spot. And the more that I watch them, I just feel like whoever sneaks in is probably going to get rinsed in that first round. I don't know. Do you guys feel differently about it, John? Like watching these teams battling for this last wild card spot. Is there any? Let's pose the question this way: is there any East Coast team fighting for that last wild card spot that you think could make an actual run in the playoffs? Because in the West, I think Nashville can give some teams some problems. I think Vegas obviously could give some teams some problems, but in the East, it doesn't feel that way.
Detroit would be the closest thing to an answer I have on that one. Like of the teams battling for the last spot right now, I think Detroit would be my answer for the team I think that would go the furthest in the playoffs or could go the furthest. I mean, with that said, I agree. I don't think any of these teams would win a first round matchup, but I think Detroit has the best shot of it.
What about you, Andre? How do you see it?
Do you think the Flyers fit into that criteria now? Because I do think the Flyers could give a lot of these teams fits. I think the Flyers give the Panthers fits specifically if they end up in that last wild card spot.
Well, they've been giving the Panthers fits like the whole year, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think they played twice recently. It was 1-1, but like both games were 1-goal games. I think one went to overtime. I don't remember. Yeah, I think if the Flyers fit that criteria, I know they're still third in the Metro by 1 point. Dear God, then I think they fit. But I mean, looking at these other teams, maybe Detroit's streaky. So yes, I think they're the perfect mold of can get hot at the right time and make a run.
Right.
Islanders, they don't play well against good competition. The Sabres, I think they're just catching heat with their season on the line. Penguins and Devils, I think there's just an identity issue at this point. And I don't think they're really... If they make the playoffs, obviously they're going to give it their best, but I don't think that's the goal at this point. So...
Yeah. I think I would agree with that. With Philly, I mean, something just seems off right now. I think trading Walker, the disparity on special teams, like something just seems off with them. I give them credit. They were getting smoked by Boston on Saturday, and they found a way to lose. Like it didn't go to overtime, but I mean, they made it close, 6-5 final. But I felt that way about Philly all year long. I've said it on this show many times that I really do feel like if Carolina played Philly in that first round, I really do feel like Philly could give them some trouble. Just from what we've seen lately, though, like it just seems like they're running out of gas. Like something is just off there. And like they play Toronto tonight, and spoiler alert, I do feel like that's a bad spot for Philly, man. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see down the stretch. Before we get into the final games, like I said, in the East, Philly hanging on to third spot in the Met with 76 points. Washington in that last wildcard spot with 75. Detroit 74. Islanders 73. Buffalo 71. Pittsburgh and New Jersey 69 and 68 points, respectively. In the West, the Los Angeles Kings hanging on to third spot in the Pacific with 79 points. Nashville 82, comfortably in the first spot of the wild card. Vegas in that last wild card spot with 79 points. St. Louis and Minnesota 75, 74 points respectively. Calgary, Seattle 71 and 68. Those losses last night for those two teams, especially Calgary, were crushing for their playoff hopes. And a conversation about Calgary that we'll have on another day, but I do think is something worth thinking about. They did not trade Markstrom. Reports are that the ownership nixed the trade because, like, to the Devils because they were still in a race for the playoffs. And you can trade Hannafin, you can trade Lindholm, you can trade all these guys, Tanev, but if you have Markstrom, there's always that hope. If they miss, I feel like they just gave up a ton of leverage when it comes to the Markstrom trade sweepstakes because it's pretty clear he doesn't want to be there anymore. And I feel like you were going to get the most you were going to get at the deadline. And now that it's the off season and he doesn't want to be there, I feel like you really, really sewered yourselves as far as the future goes. And if your ownership, okay, so you kept him to make it to the playoffs to do what? Like, this Calgary team isn't beating the Oilers, the Avalanche, the Stars, the Canucks, the Jets. Like, I don't know. I feel like they put themselves in a really bad position, and it could quite possibly hinder their rebuild. But you know what? It's the Flames. We'll talk about that in the summer because we got playoff races to talk about. We got games that actually matter to talk about. So let's just dive right into it. We're going to skip our bad beats because you know what? Last night, it just was a bad beat as a whole. And it's a new day. We're due, as the gamblers love to say. And I believe in us. So let's just get right to it. First game of the night, Ottawa is in Boston. Ottawa plus 180 on the road. Boston minus 218 at home. The over is 6 at minus 118. The under is minus 102. Plus 1.5 on the Ottawa side is minus 135. Minus 1.5 on the Boston side. Plus 114. John, let's start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
On paper, this should be a pretty lopsided matchup. Given we have one of the best teams in the league going up against, well, one of the worst. I don't think Ottawa matches up well with Boston anyway. Even Ottawa can keep up with them scoring-wise, but, I mean, I think it falls apart after that when we're talking about the Senators. And even with Ottawa's strength, the Bruins average more goals per game than the Senators. And if we're factoring that into the fact that Ottawa's defense typically collapses in spots like this, I mean, I don't see another option but to take the Bruins puck line here. I mean, on paper, it just makes the most sense.
What about you, Andre? What do you see here?
I see the Senators on the road. I really don't think I have much to add at this point. I know they beat Columbus and the Islanders on the road last week end, I guess. I don't know, Thursday and then Saturday. I don't know why that was so difficult for me to conceptualize. The point being, this team has sucked on the road all season.
Yeah.
Those two losses don't change me. The Islanders are in a free fall again. The Blue Jackets just aren't a good team. The Blue Jackets almost won that game, should have won that game. Point being, Bruins -1.5 here. They are in a tight race for not just the top spot in the East or the Atlantic, but just the entire NHL. If there's a team that probably wants the President's Trophy this year, it's probably the Bruins more than anybody, just to get rid of the stench of last season. So I think it matters to them. Despite all the losses, they made half of them come in overtime. So they're in the spot. They're going to take the 2 points where they can get them. This is a team where it should be easy pickings.
Excuse me. I not a great time to have a coughing fit. That's okay. Yeah, boys, I don't know what to tell you. I agree with both of you on paper. I think that you're both spot on. For whatever reason, I can't shake Ottawa +1.5 here. I mean, barely winning against Philadelphia, barely winning against St. Louis, destroying Pittsburgh. Okay, congratulations. Beating the Leafs 4-1 twice. Leafs just cannot beat that team for whatever reason. Losing to Edmonton, good team, I understand. Losing to the Islanders, losing to Seattle in a shootout. I don't know. I just nothing about the way Boston, and I know it's Ottawa, I get it, but nothing about the way Boston's playing right now screams to be -1.5 against anybody. I don't dispute anything you guys have said. Just watching these games, I feel like Ottawa, they've had just this awful season, and I still think they're trying to prove to ownership, like, hey, don't just start over. Like, we got this. I don't know. Something about this screams Ottawa +1.5 to me. -135 is a little expensive, but I do think that Ottawa finds a way to keep this game close. And probably more accurately, I feel like Boston finds a way on the negative side to keep this game close. I don't know. Something's just telling me Ottawa +1.5 at -135. And would I be surprised if this game went to overtime? Not at all. So I would look at that as well. I had it here. I'll just pull this up. +320 to go to overtime, and I don't mind it. So looking at that, and Ottawa +1.5 at -135. Moving on to the Columbus Blue Jackets in Detroit. Detroit -170 at home. Columbus +142 on the road. The over is 6.5 at -122. The under is +102. +1.5 for the Blue Jackets, -166. -1.5 for the Red Wings, +140. Andre, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
I don't know. I have no faith in Detroit. The way you don't believe in the Bruins, which is valid, by the way, they've been just finding ways to let teams hang in games. It's the same way I feel about the Red Wings, except they're not even getting to the point where they can blow a lead. They're just falling behind early and not catching up whatsoever. It's Columbus, though, right? Like, you can't bet on Columbus against a good team. Like, this has to be a dub. They beat this team twice earlier in the season, scored 9 goals between the games. Like, you have to think Red Wings have something in the tank. They did it against the Sabres at home. You have to think they can do it again. It's, again, 2 points they need. They're out of the playoffs right now. Very hesitantly, I'm going to take them -1.5. Like with the Bruins pick, this is more of a they're playing the Jackets type of bet than a belief in the Red Wings. That's what they.
Yeah, man. Oh, sorry. Lost you for a sec. Sorry about that.
All I said was take the over out of that.
Yeah, I don't know. What is it with me today? This is only the second game, and I'm already. I don't know, man. This Detroit team, they won a game that they needed to win against Buffalo on Saturday. Then they lost a game that they needed to win against Pittsburgh on Sunday. Yes, I agree with you. Detroit should come in here. You're at home against a bad team. You should win by multiple goals. And I don't know. I think if I have to pick anything here, I'll probably go with the 60-minute line minus 110. I think I'm having a hard time seeing anything to do with this team right now. I don't know. There's something inside of me that wants to pick Columbus here plus 142. I do think no, you know what? I agree with you, Andre. This team has to get it together, and they got to start winning some games. They've been extremely streaky, really, really tough couple weeks. Huge win against Buffalo on Saturday. I'm going to pick Detroit minus 1.5 as well. I like you. I don't trust it, and there is a small part of me that actually wants to lean Columbus here, but I just think this Detroit team's too desperate. They got to find a way to get this job done. And I do feel like, from a Detroit perspective, I feel like a 5-1 win is more important than squeaking out a 2-1 win. Like, I feel like they need to lay a beat down on a team to get that monkey off their back. John, what about you? What do you see here?
I think I'm leaning more towards the over here due to Detroit's inconsistency. Columbus is one of these, I don't know. Columbus is one of these unpredictable teams that can show up on a random night when you least expect it. I don't love the puck line bet for Detroit right now. I just can't back it the way they're playing at the moment. What I can back is an over because these are two of the worst 8 teams in the league in goals allowed. It's not a strength for either team to keep pucks out of the net. But on the Detroit side of things, they are prone to score a decent amount of goals. They average 3.38 per game. And I feel like they're going to give up some tonight, even if they do win. I just don't. I just can't fully back a multiple goal win here. I mean, I could see it, but I'm just not fully confident in it. I think I just feel better going with the over at 6.5. Like, I could see a 5-2 win, but I could see a 4-3 win at the same time, So give me the over here.
Yeah. And I mean, like, just looking at this again, like Red Wings 2-8, their last 10, losing to Pittsburgh, like I mentioned, losing to Arizona twice, Buffalo, Vegas, Colorado, Florida Islanders. I'm leaning the minus 1.5 because I just expect, like, Detroit's way better than the way they've been playing. But it definitely is a shaky pick at best. John, we're going to go right back to you, bro, because this is a loser leaves town match, in my opinion. Pittsburgh in New Jersey at the Rock. The Pittsburgh Penguins are plus 110 now. Some Pittsburgh money coming in on a Tuesday morning. Pittsburgh plus 110 on the road. New Jersey Devils minus 130. The over is 6.5 at minus 105. The under is minus 115. Plus 1.5 on the Pittsburgh side, minus 225. Minus 1.5 on the Devils side, plus 185. I do feel like these updated odds are probably a little bit closer to what they should be. Plus 110 for Pittsburgh, minus 130 for the Devils. John, what do you see from your boys in this game tonight?
I know I shouldn't be optimistic about the Devils considering the way they've looked like all last week, pretty much. especially this weekend. But I don't know. I weirdly feel like they're going to win this one. I think the Devils match up decently against the Penguins. I don't think the Penguins, besides a random Sharks win, I don't think the Penguins have much leg to stand on here. The Devils, I think, could skate up and down against them. And despite the Penguins not being a bad defensive team, I just don't think they're nearly the scoring team the Devils are. Even in this recent stretch, Devils still average like 3.24 goals per game. Penguins 2.91, and the Devils usually have a pretty weak penalty kill, but they're facing a team that doesn't even have a 15% power play. So I don't feel like there's a lot of strengths the Penguins have that they could really capitalize on in this spot, especially especially just being a home game for the Devils. I'm leaning that direction, and I'll take it a step further and say give me the 60-minute line here, just because maybe I'm getting cute with this, but the 130 is a little high. I feel like the Devils can pull this off in regulation. And as you know, we avoid puck lines for Devils games here. So, yeah, I think 60-minute is the way I'm leaning here.
Yeah, I wish we did a show on Saturday because I needed you to talk me out of taking them -1.5 against Arizona, and that bit me on Saturday. I don't know if it's Tuesday morning, if I'm having a slow time getting into the week. I don't know what it is, but I'm having a hard time seeing a lot of these games today. I just with this game tonight, both teams struggling as of late. 3-6-1 for the Penguins, 3-7-0 for the Devils. For the most part, the Devils have lost to good teams. Arizona not included, Anaheim not included, but like losing to Vegas, Rangers, Carolina, Florida, the Kings, like there's no shame in that. Pittsburgh is a team that I really do feel like the Devils at home really do need to win this game just for their own kind of confidence sake. Pittsburgh's been a team where we've kind of been feeling them slipping off for a while now. I know a lot of people didn't even pick them to make it to the playoffs before the season even started. For me, this comes down to you have Sidney Crosby on that team. He's had a tough stretch over the last couple of weeks. I feel like he's going to not will them into the playoffs, but I feel like he's going to keep them relevant for as long as possible. I don't trust either of the goaltending here, although the Devils' goaltending since the trade deadline has been much better. I think I'm going to lean Pittsburgh here. I just feel like they have more veteran guys that do believe that this team can make it to the playoffs, and I feel like this is a must-win. I just feel like Pittsburgh is going to find a way to pull this one out. Pittsburgh plus 110. I will also take Sidney Crosby plus 135 to get a goal tonight. He got off the schneid, as we say, the other day, and I do feel like he finds a way to will his team to a win tonight. So Sidney Crosby plus 135, I really like, and I do think Pittsburgh finds a way to squeak this one out. Andre, what about you, man?
Pittsburgh's offense has been generating a lot of chances. They've been playing very well lately, especially in their last 3 games. All of them were at home. The problem for me with this one is they're back on the road where they have a 5-game losing streak and failed to get multiple goals in 4 of those games, one of which went to overtime. The other issue is that they're trading off defense to generate this offense. They're giving up a lot of odd man rushes, dangerous chances. That's the type of game the Devils want to play. I think that helps their offense a lot in this one. And this is a Devils team that already beat the Penguins 5-2 earlier in the season. I think Pittsburgh is going to keep scoring. I think they genuinely found something at home, but I don't think they're going to outscore the Devils if that's the type of game they want to play. So I think the Devils, I'm going to take that 60-minute line. I think like John said, and I'm going to take the over in this one. I just don't trust their defense with the way the Pittsburgh's been playing lately. Too many odd man rushes for this Devils team.
That's a good point about the over. I'm right there with you. Thank you for reminding me. I'm right there with you with the over. I think that's a good point. Both these teams can score, and both these teams can't play defense. So I think that's a pretty easy pick to have. All right, let's go to your boys, Andre. If not the game of the night, one of the games of the night. My Leafs are playing tonight, but I'm going to have two screens going tonight because I think this game is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Winnipeg is in New York to play the Rangers. Rangers minus 125 at home. Jets plus 105. The over is 5.5 at minus 112. The under is minus 108. Plus 1.5 for the Jets is minus 250. Minus 1.5 for the Rangers is plus 205. Andre, let's go right back to you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
I don't know. I feel like I'd be willing to cut off a limb to take this under tonight. Honestly, just
wow.
I do like the under in this game. Win or lose. When these teams met in Winnipeg way earlier in the season, it was 3-2 in overtime. Rangers defense, even with all the injuries, has been playing well lately. We all know what Winnipeg's capable of. They allow the fewest goals per game in the league. So in the Garden, don't see a lot of scoring either way. But if this comes down to the offenses, which it likely will, I know the Jets are running hot, but you have to favor the Rangers based on season-long performance and potential, especially if this boils down to special teams, because power play and PK, the Rangers have a much stronger edge. So I think it's going to be a tight game, but it's home. Rangers offense playing pretty well. Defense has survived without Trouba. They played a good third period without Lindgren. He's out for the next few weeks. I think that continues, and I'm going to take the Rangers minus 125 in the under here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, number one, when it comes to the under, you have two of the best goaltenders in the game. If you're looking at season-long numbers, then Hellebuck has a clear advantage. But, I mean, Shesterkin had a tough first half of the year. That's well documented. Since his little mental break at the All-Star game, he has been off the charts good. He's been phenomenal. And even with the slow start that he had to the season, he still has, 2.59 goals against, 912 save percentage. He still has an incredible numbers this year. You have two of the best goaltenders in the league playing tonight. I think the under is absolutely low-hanging fruit here. I like the under as well. And I like the Rangers to win this game also. I like picking the Jets plus money on the road or at home, although plus money at home is very rare for Winnipeg. The reason why I'm leaning more Rangers here is because the Jets' last two games, okay, they played the Blue Jackets and they destroyed them. They played the Ducks and they destroyed them. And I just feel like you play two awful teams back to back. You're going on the road to Madison Square Garden to one of the best teams in the NHL. I feel like it kind of slaps you in the face a little bit. I don't think they're going to get destroyed by any means, but I think they've played two very bad opponents over the last few days. And I feel like it's going to take them a minute to get their legs in this one because clearly the Rangers are better than the Blue Jackets and the Ducks put together and times 100. So I do give the Rangers the edge in this game. I think the under is probably my more like my favorite bet in this game, but I do pick the Rangers to win it. John, what about you, man? What do you see here?
I think I'm also leaning Rangers in this game. The over-under is very fascinating, though, at 5.5. I think on paper, I would be very tempted to back the under as well, what Andre mentioned. I just don't think I can pull that trigger here because I feel like when these are two of the better goaltending teams in the league for sure. And I do understand the temptation, but I just get the feeling there are going to be some goals put up in this game with the type of talent that's on the ice tonight. The reason why I like the Rangers is because I feel like they can neutralize a lot of Winnipeg's strengths. I think the main thing the Winnipeg has on the Rangers is that they're slightly better in the goaltending statistics, being the top team in the league in goals allowed. But I think the offensive numbers on the Rangers side of things make up for it. Rangers average 3.35 goals a game. Winnipeg, not terribly far behind at 3.13, but I do think the Rangers have slightly more offensive firepower available compared to Winnipeg. And I think Winnipeg facing another team that, let's face it, is rather complete themselves. I don't know if that's a great matchup for them, especially at the Garden. So I think I am leaning Rangers here tonight, but I'll stick to the money line in this one.
All right, let's move on. Shout out, Charles. Thank you very much for watching. I know Andre speaks very highly of you, so we appreciate you tuning in on Total Apex Sports. Let's move on to my guys, the Toronto Maple Leafs in Philly again. A weird schedule quirk where they're in Philly 2 times in the span of 2 weeks. But that's how she goes. Toronto in Philly. Toronto is minus 135 on the road. Plus 114 are the Flyers at home. Over is 6.5 at plus 102. The under is 6.5 at minus 122. Minus 1.5 for the Leafs is plus 185. Plus 1.5 for the Flyers is minus 225. The Toronto Maple Leafs and Philadelphia Flyers played on February the 15th. Toronto won 4-3. They also played on March 14th, and Toronto won 6-2. They play again tonight, and I based on the trend of those 2 games, I love the over plus money. I think over 6.5 at plus 102 is terrific value, and I take that over here again. I also do, and you guys know that I am hesitant to lean heavily on my guys here. I do think that the Leafs win this game by 2 or more goals at minus 1.5 plus 185. I think that's also very, very good value. I think Philadelphia, I've talked about it a lot on the show. In fact, I talked about this like half an hour ago. I really like this Flyers team, and I've liked them all year long. I just think that they're just hitting a really, really tough stretch the last couple weeks. I think they've been slipping. I think Toronto, there are losses sprinkled in there that are concerning by the Maple Leafs. Yes, that loss on Saturday was concerning. However, they're 12-3-1 in their last 16 games. They've been playing very, very good hockey, and Philadelphia has just been really struggling lately. 4-5-1 in their last 10 games. Back-to-back losses against Boston, Toronto, beat San Jose, losing to Tampa Bay badly, beating Florida, but losing to St. Louis. I feel like these 2 teams right now are going in opposite directions, and I feel like the Leafs are just playing really solid hockey. Mitch Marner is not on the ice tonight, so for that reason, I don't lean towards any of the power play points, and I don't lean towards Matthews scoring. He has a hard time scoring without Marner on his line. That's kind of been well documented. The one prop in this game that I actually really like is Travis Konechny, when he plays the Toronto Maple Leafs, he pretty much scores every time. Plus 155 for him to score against the Leafs tonight. So that's the one prop that I really do like. Travis Konechny plus 155 anytime goal scorer. But other than that, give me the over and give me Toronto. Give me the over and give me Toronto minus 1.5. John, we'll go to you next, man. What do you see in this one?
I do think Philadelphia needs the game a bit more, and I believe last time these two teams met up, Toronto put a good spanking on them. So I'm going to be interested to see how Philadelphia responds at home in this one. I remember recently when these two teams met up, I picked Philadelphia and I was wrong big time.
Yes, you were.
So I'm a little tempted to go back to them. Mainly, I'm a little scared too, given what happened last time. But I think there's a sense of desperation in Philadelphia, especially with Washington, as we talked about in the opening, sneaking up in the playoff race there. Philadelphia not out of the woods yet in that department. Once again, I talked about this last time as well, the Toronto power play versus the Philadelphia penalty kill. I want to see that matchup. I want to see who comes out on top in that battle, because I think it's the same thing here. Whichever part of the special teams comes out on top in that matchup probably has the edge in this game tonight. Again, with the offensive firepower Toronto has, it makes me nervous picking against them, but I'm getting a gut feeling Philadelphia at home is the way to go here. So I'm going to take the plus 114.
I will say before we go to you, Andre, I will say that's a great point by you. That just kind of reminded me, the Leafs all year long, the power play has not been great recently. The Toronto Maple Leafs power play, it's been falling off here. They're now 5th in the league. So still obviously really good numbers, but it's been falling off the last few weeks. But with that much talent, I'm not worried about the Leafs power play. But their penalty kill has been awful all year. And so we all know, and we've all talked about how the Philadelphia Flyers have an awful power play. But guess who they score power play goals on every time they play them? The Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm not only curious to see how the penalty killing holds. I believe the Flyers also have 2 shorthanded goals against the Leafs this year as well. So I wish there was a way to bet just special team points in general, not power play or penalty kill, because I feel like we're due for something from the Flyers, whether it's shorthanded or power play, because they've kind of had their way with the Leafs as far as their special teams go on both sides of that coin. Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here tonight?
Yeah, I don't think the Flyers have a chance here against good teams lately, getting absolutely no stops. Give up 6 to the Bruins, 6 to the Leafs. Last Thursday, gave up 7 to the Lightning. A few games before that. Really, the Sharks, the only team they played well against in their past 4 when you're looking at getting stops. And these teams have met twice fairly recently. Austin Matthews was beating Philly 3-1 in the first game single-handedly before the last 5 minutes of the third period. The second time it was 3-0. As soon as I blinked, what was the final score of the game? 6-2, 7-2.
Yeah,
6. It was 3-0, 3-1, 6-1, whatever it was. Toronto dominated. This is a nightmare matchup for the Flyers, especially right now. They can't keep up with Toronto, in my opinion. And they're not really scoring against them in the first place. So I'm going to take the Maple Leafs minus 1.5 here.
My guy, Andre. My guy. Appreciate you. All right, let's move on. Lots of games left to get to in the NHL tonight. Carolina on the island playing the New York Islanders. Minus 162 are the Hurricanes on the road. Plus 136 are the Islanders at home. Over is 6 at minus 108. The under is minus 112. Minus 1.5 for the Hurricanes is plus 164. Plus 1.5 for the Islanders is minus 198. As we said earlier in the show, the Islanders 73 points, now a full 2 points back of the Capitals for that last wild card spot, and 3 points back of the Flyers for that last spot in the Met. Andre, let's go right back to you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
The Carolina Hurricanes have 31 goals in their last 7 games. It's over 4 per game.
Unreal.
And they got shut out in one of those. They got shut out at home against the Rangers in the only game they didn't score. Every other one, they had at least 4 goals. It was 4-4-7, 4-5-7, I believe. The offense is on fire, is what I'm trying to say. The Islanders gave up 5 goals on Sunday, 4 goals against the Senators on Saturday, 4-0 loss on Thursday in Buffalo, 3-0 loss in LA on Monday. They're not going to get stopped. They have the worst PK in the league. Needs to be thrown in there. They're not going to stop this Hurricanes offense. Not the way it's raging and rolling through town these days. So Carolina's going to go to Long Island, and they're going to stop the Islanders. I'm taking that minus 1.5 all the way to the bank, and I'm taking the over because I see at least 4 goals from Carolina again.
Yeah, and I mean the last 2 times, and I know that they haven't played since the new year rolled around, but the last 2 times these teams played, both games had 9 goals, and the game before that in November had 7 goals. Islanders do lead this season series 2-1, winning both those last 2 games 5-4. That being said, I'm right there with you. The only thing that kind of leans me away from the over is just Carolina's goaltending Saturday against the Leafs notwithstanding. Carolina's goaltending has been phenomenal. I know we've talked about this a lot, especially in the first half of the year where we didn't really trust their goaltending too much. But their goaltending's been off the charts the last couple months. And I'm right there with you, man. I think Carolina wins this game by 2 or more as well. I mean, the Islanders are a team that we would not be shocked. At least I wouldn't be shocked if all of a sudden the Islanders come out, pull out the win. But just based on what we've seen from both these 2 teams recently, they're just going opposite directions. The one thing I will say on the prop side of things, Jarvis, 4 goals in his last 5 games. For him to score tonight is, wow, I can't even see it, plus 210. And Aho scored 2 goals against the Leafs the other night. He is plus 135. Jake Gensel has been scoring over the last few games since joining the Hurricanes. He's plus 145. And Brock Nelson, he's been lighting the lamp pretty consistently. He's plus 185. So those are the goals, the goal scorers that I like in this game. But I'm right there with you. Carolina minus 1.5. I am going to stay away from the total just because I can absolutely see the over, but I also think, Carolina's goaltending has been so good recently that I'm a little bit scared of it.
Could I interest you in, just real quick, Carolina over 3.5 goals at plus 150?
Yes, you can.
Right total. Okay.
Over 3.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a lock. I think if the Islanders find a way to win this game, it's like we saw earlier in the year, 5-4. I think that's the only way. I don't think the Islanders win like a 2-1, 3-2 game. I think the Islanders are going to have to score a ton of goals to pull this game out. So yeah, I like that plus 115 over 3.5. John, what about you? What do you see here?
First off, I'll echo the over 3.5 that Andre proposed. I really like that as well, especially at plus 115. For reasons I'm about to mention, I'll be very surprised if Carolina does not hit that in tonight's game. And I'll bring back around another point Andre brought up, is that the power play, the special teams matchup here tonight. Once Andre brought that up, I took a closer look at some of the numbers here. I mean, not only are we talking about an Islanders team that, like, not only are we talking about the worst PK in the league for the Islanders, we're talking about a team in the top 4 in power play conversion for Carolina. And on top of that, Carolina averages 3.38 goals per game. That's 7th in the league. So the point I'm trying to make is I think Carolina is too much of an offensive juggernaut for the Islanders in tonight's game. And for that reason, I'll go the over 3.5 Andre mentioned for Carolina, and B, Carolina puck line. I think both of those could be in the running for best bet today.
Ooh, I don't know. Team totals are scaring me after last night. I'm a little bit.
We have a long slate that I think this is just my favorite of the ones that we've done so far.
Well, going on to the next game, I just want to say this before we really dive into it. Nashville, minus 410, Sharks plus 320. I just want to say this. Nashville, both you as a hockey team and also as a city, congratulations. I know it's just the Sharks, okay? But for you to be minus 410 favorites against anybody this year, I just want to say congratulations. You guys got your butts kicked by St. Louis, I believe. And then we haven't talked about this on this show. I've heard it on the radio many times. You guys went to Vegas. You had a U2 concert that you were going to go to at the Sphere. Your coaching staff canceled and your management canceled that concert because you were not performing. And you answered the bell. Not only did you come back and go on a little heater, you went on a huge heater, and you are now comfortably in the playoffs, 82 points, 7 points clear of the 9th place team. That canceled U2 concert. In any other locker room, that might have some discourse, maybe some negativity, some bitter attitudes, but not in Nashville. No, Nashville heard the message that the management was sending, and now look at you. You're minus 410 favorites at home. Yes, against the lowly Sharks team, but you did it, and I love you, and I know that the odds are insane, but I'm still, oh man, John, am I going to do it? I don't think it's even up yet, but I'll take minus 2.5 when it's ready. I will. I don't know if it's up, but I'm going to do it because I love this Nashville team. Ryan O'Reilly, you didn't want to play for Toronto because it's too busy of a city for you. And in order to live in the country like you're accustomed to, you have to travel 2 hours to get into downtown Toronto. So you went to Nashville. I didn't like it at first, but I like it now. And I am taking the Nashville Predators minus 2.5 when it is ready. Wow, this really shifted. Since my little monologue, they are actually minus 425 favorites. So let me start over. Nashville, congratulations. Minus 425 favorites, plus 330 are the Sharks on the road. The over is 6 at minus 110. I like that too. Plus 1.5 are the Sharks at plus 136. Plus 1.5 is plus 136. Minus 1.5 is minus 162. The over and the under are both minus 110 for a total of 6. Thank you for listening. Nashville, Music City, love you. Andre, what do you have to say about this game tonight? And what more really needs to be said? I think I just did a wonderful job.
You did a fantastic job. I'm glad the U2 concert was finally brought up on this
Yeah,
show.
I know.
Man.
I keep
Really
meaning to bring
touched
it up, but I forgot about it.
It's a real paradigm shift in the NHL. No notes. 10 out of 10. I'm taking the -2.5 as well. I'm glad you did it first, so I won't get blamed for it. But Nashville, they're back home after a 4-1 win. That covers 2.5. In Seattle, when they were home recently during a 5-game homestand, they beat the Avalanche 5-1. That covers
Mhm.
2.5. That's an impressive win. They beat the Wild 6-1. That's another team fighting for the playoff spot. That's an impressive win. San Jose went to Nashville way back in October. They lost 5-1. This Predators team also beat them again in San Jose 4-2. They're playing well. They've played well against the Sharks. Predators are gonna win this one by at least 3 goals. I'm right there with you. I'm taking them -2.5. Beautiful job, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I also want to say Roman Yossi, very, very underrated season by him this year. He's been off the charts. Assists, goals, points, whatever you can get on Roman Yossi, take it because he's just been phenomenal. And it's not being talked about because you have Quinn Hughes, who I've praised many times on this show. You have Cale Makar, who is a phenomenal player, but Roman Yossi for the Norris, I think needs to be talked about more because he's just had a phenomenal season. John, what do you see in this game tonight?
I'm gonna guess this 2.5 is gonna end up somewhere slightly above plus money because I've been seeing some plus 105s and plus 120 in BetMGM. So I guess it depends on I guess it depends on what DraftKings wants to do there. Anyway, this game, I'm gonna echo what you guys said. I don't really have much to argue here. Sharks, don't burn me again. I'm betting against you this time at -2.5. You guys let me down last time. I tried to do a puck line play in your favor against the Penguins. That was a while back at this point, but I don't know, man. The Sharks are. I'm losing a lot of trust in the Sharks, and Nashville's red hot right now too. Can we just say that for it's like another reason to go with
Dude.
them here? I mean, I don't know if this is still going on, but like didn't they have like a 14-point streak or something? Like 12-0-2 and
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure
yeah.
it's still
I
going.
wasn't sure if that was still current or not, but yeah, my point is Nashville's still red hot. And I know, Mark, I'm glad you're the one that started this 2.5 train. That way I didn't have to, because you know my luck with that this year. But with that said, when a team is -425 in money line, they kind of don't give you a choice. You kind of have to start backing it a wild puck line such as 2.5. So I'm gonna go with the current trends, that being Nashville's hot and the Sharks are terrible. So Nashville 2.5. I'm crossing my fingers.
I just want to say this mostly just because I love John and he's been back on vacation for a bit, but he was gone for a while. So I just want to point this out. The Sharks are 16-44-7 with 39 points, a .291 winning percentage, and you just lost trust in them. It took you this long.
Hey, Andre and I used to have fun betting on the baby Sharks early in the year. I think I lost trust in them completely in February. There were some times the Sharks got us some nice wins.
I don't disagree with you. I'll never forget. I think Vinny was the one who picked it. Maybe it was both all you guys, but that win against Edmonton way back when, I'll never forget it. I'm just saying, to hear that you finally lost trust in the Sharks was like, man. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on. Colorado. is in St. Louis. Another quick update. St. Louis, 4 points back of Vegas. Vegas, we'll talk about it in a little bit. They play Tampa Bay tonight. Spoiler alert, I think they're going to lose against Tampa Bay tonight. St. Louis, huge game for their playoff aspirations against the Colorado Avalanche tonight. Plus 180 are the Blues at home. Minus 218 are the Avalanche on the road. The over is 6.5 at plus 100. The under is minus 120. Minus 1.5 for Colorado is plus 114. Plus 1.5 for the Blues is minus 135. Those puck line odds, to me, Blues at home, very disrespectful. John, go ahead, man. What do you see in this? I was going to go first, but I spent about 25 minutes on my praise to the Predators. So why don't you go ahead, dude? What do you see in this game tonight?
All right, on that note, I will agree that this line is a little suspicious because I would not have pegged the Blues to be plus 180 in this spot unless I'm just missing something significant here. And like, what's odd about this as well is that the Blues puck line is minus 135. So
right,
I'm not really sure what to make of this one. I may be overthinking this, saying it might be a trap, but the money line odds compared to the puck line odds are scaring me a little bit in this game. They really are. And because I do believe St. Louis is a better team than the money line suggests here. But Colorado is the top scoring team in the league, and St. Louis is not exactly known for getting pucks behind the net. So that does scare me, admittedly, because I believe the Blues are ranked 26th in the league in goals per game. So, yeah, that's not great. I think that's the one argument you could make to back Colorado minus 1.5. I just feel like there's a reason Colorado might be this big of a favorite. So I think I'm just reading the lines here more than anything and just reading what I read about the difference in goals per game. I might kick myself for this tomorrow, but I think I'm going to take the Colorado puck line.
I think you will kick yourself tomorrow, but I'll share my thoughts in a sec. Andre, what do you see here, bro?
Mark, I think we're on the same page. So I think order is going to restore it a little bit here. Listen closely. The Blues hosted the Avalanche December 29th, and they lost that game. They lost that game 2-1. 1 goal loss, and if you're holding the Avalanche to 2 goals, you are doing something right. They went to Denver earlier this year, and they won 8-2. If you're going to Ball Arena and you're beating the Avalanche, regardless of the fact that it was by 6 goals, you are doing something right. This Blues team, they're better at home. They've won 4 in a row. This is the last game of their 4-game homestand before they, head to Ottawa, head to Minnesota, whatever. I understand Colorado's better. I understand Colorado's also hot. I understand that offense is undeniable, especially with McKinnon leading the NHL in points right now. But this is going to be a 1-goal game. Give me that plus 1.5 and minus 135, people. The Blues aren't getting blown out in this one. They might lose because they're not as good. They're not getting blown out. You can't convince me. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't think I will. So,
yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I mean, listen, Colorado, yes, the Blues are on a 4-game winning streak. Colorado's on a 6-game winning streak. Colorado's been playing very, very well. Colorado also came off a huge overtime win against Vancouver and a huge overtime win against the Oilers. And I do think this is a really good spot for the Blues. Avalanche still on the road. Blues still at home. I think this is a really good spot for an Avalanche letdown here. And I do think the Blues, I like the plus 1.5 as well at minus 135, and I'll recommend that on the show for our amazing viewers to bet their hard-earned money. But you know what? In my own personal life, I'm taking the Blues plus 180 here. I really do think that this team is coming around at the right time. I think they're coming together at the right time, and I do think they can win this game. And I do think plus 1.5 is the wise play, is the right play, but I'm not scared of a St. Louis money line here. I really do think that they can win this game tonight. I will also say 3 out of the last 4 games for the Avalanche have gone to overtime. The Blues win against Minnesota on Saturday. That went to a shootout. A couple weeks ago, they played Philly. That went to a shootout as well. Overtime plus 340 for this game to go to overtime, and I don't hate that either. So give me the Blues plus 1.5 at minus 135. I also like the money line. And I don't mind a little overtime sprinkle either at plus 340. And you know what? I've been kind of hot and cold on this guy all year long, mostly because I drafted him in my fantasy roster and he forced me to drop him, and it was very bittersweet. Jordan Kyrou plus 210 to score. And this guy, for him to be plus 210 to score a goal, kind of speaks to the up and down season that he has had. I like him to score tonight. He's been kind of getting himself rolling again. So give me Jordan Kyrou plus 210 to score. And St. Louis minus 1.5. And if you're feeling bold, give me St. Louis on the money line. All right, moving on to Edmonton. They are home against Montreal. Plus 310 are the Canadians on the road. Minus 395 are the Oilers at home. The over is 6.5 at minus 105. The under is minus 115. Plus 1.5 for the Canadians is plus 124. Minus 1.5 for the Oilers is minus 148. Andre, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this game?
My bad, I was muted. Pretty boring game. I think this is clear Oilers win. I don't really know much to add. The Canadians have had scrappy moments this year, but not lately. The Oilers playing pretty well for the most part. Lost to Colorado, lost to Buffalo. Those are 2 red hot teams. Otherwise, I mean, they beat the Capitals 7-2. That's impressive these days. I'm taking the Oilers.
Yeah, I don't really know where to go in this game either. I think, the Oilers minus 1.5. I don't know if I want to get as risky as the minus 2.5 as we did with the Nashville game. I'm more just like props in this game. I think Hyman to score a goal. The fact, I know I've said this on the show before, but the fact that Zach Hyman is minus 110 to score is just crazy to me. Like, what a phenomenal year this guy has had. Minus 110 for him to win or to score a goal. McDavid plus 100, Draisaitl plus 105. The one prop that I do find more value on, that I do like more, over 3.5 shots for Cole Caulfield is minus 130. For him to get 5+ shots is plus 180. Give me Cole Caulfield plus 180 at 5+ shots. John, what about you, man? What do you see here? Oh, also the total, I have no idea. This game in general, I just kind of, I don't know, want to stay away from it, but I'll take those props that I mentioned. John, what about you?
So, Mark, I know you mentioned you were hesitant to take the 2.5 here. I'll provide one decent argument, I think, that might be worth a look at that 2.5. which I'm seeing in some random sports books at around plus 105, plus 110. So my argument here is when you look at the standings, you see the goal differential of each of these two teams, especially of late. Edmonton, their goal differential is plus 46. Montreal's is minus 50. And I'll also add Edmonton 7-1-2 in their last 10 games. So I think I'm just keeping it short and sweet here. I think with those two things, plus just given how much offensive talent Edmonton has, I think I would be willing to bite the apple a little bit and go with take the 10, open up Pandora's box here and take 2.5 again. I'm not quite as confident as I am with Nashville over San Jose, but I'm not far behind either. I really do think there's a decent separation gap here, especially at home for Edmonton. So I also just feel like minus 150 is a little big for a puck line. So I'll say listen to one of Mark's props if you don't like the 2.5, because I think those are the only two things I would consider in this game.
Bite the apple, a little Adam and Eve reference. Very nice on Tuesday, John. Love it. All right, let's move on. Minnesota and Anaheim, a pretty boring game. However, what makes this compelling is Minnesota. They're hanging around in this playoff race, 74 points, 5 points back of Vegas. Like I said about St. Louis, who has 75 points, I really do think that Vegas is going to lose to Tampa Bay tonight. And once again, we'll talk about that game coming up. And so this is a big game. You're playing the Ducks, who suck. You have been inconsistent for the majority of the year, but you're coming on as of late. And I really do think that the Wild can win this game by 2 or more goals. Let's get into it. Minus 225 are the Wild at home, or on the road, sorry. Plus 185 are the Ducks at home. The over is 6 at plus 100. The under is minus 120, minus 1.5 for the Wild at plus 114, plus 1.5 for the Ducks at minus 135. To add to what I was saying before, minus 1.5, plus 114. Also, I like the over at plus 100 for a total of 6. I really like that as well. I don't think Eriksson Ek is playing tonight, if memory serves correct. But the Wild have been getting lots of scoring elsewhere over the last little bit. So I do like them to win by minus 1.5. And I do like the over. Kaprizov has gotten 5 goals in his last 5 games. He is plus 110 to score tonight. I do think if this over hits, I do think that the Ducks get a couple on the board, and Vetrano at plus 185 is your best bet. If the Ducks are going to do anything offensively, it's going to go through Frank Vetrano. If I really do need to say more, I mean, Wild 5-3-2 in their last 10 games. Tough shootout loss to the Blues on Saturday. Before that, they won 3 in a row. Before that, they lost a tough overtime loss to Colorado on a Friday night. I remember it was a Friday night because that bet killed us in our best bets. And before that, they won 2 games against Arizona and San Jose. So they're beating the teams that they have to beat. They're losing close to teams that are good. They're on a 7-game point streak. I don't think I needed to really convince you this much, but give me Minnesota minus 1.5. John, what about you?
I don't think the Ducks have been playing well of late. Well, they haven't been playing well all season, but like looking in their last 3 games in particular, they've played rather poorly. 2 days ago, they tried to to stay in it against St. Louis, but didn't really work out. Then, of course, Friday night with the game we're not going to talk about too much there. Let's just say there was a bad beat involved. And then a couple days prior to that, they lost to Minnesota, the team they're playing here, 2-0. My point being, I almost see this as a spot where Anaheim can get a little redemption. It could be a sneaky spot for them to win. Let's also add in the fact the Ducks have lost their last 6 games. And I know for me recently, it's getting dangerous to assume teams are due. I've gotten burned on that a couple of times, but I might be willing to get burned one more time because I do think the Ducks are due. And I think the Wild are due for a big loss. So I'm going to take the Ducks at plus 180, mainly for that reason. I just think the Ducks are due for a win, and they've played really poorly in their latest stretch, including a 6-0, including getting shut out in 2 of their last 3 games. So something has to give, in my opinion.
I get what you're saying. I think, to me, in the last 10 games for the Wild, the only non-playoff team that they've lost to is St. Louis, and St. Louis is making a push for the playoffs. They're beating teams that they need to beat, where the Ducks, the only teams that they have beat are Ottawa, New Jersey, and San Jose. And no offense to your New Jersey Devils, but that was a tough stretch for New Jersey. New Jersey's played better since that West Coast trip that you got to see firsthand that cost Lindy Ruff his job, right? So to me, I do understand what you're saying, but just in recent trends, they're just these two teams are going opposite directions. Andre, what about you, man?
Yeah, I'm strongly on the Minnesota train. I think I have been for the past couple of weeks. They're playing desperate. They're playing like they know every pair of points matters as they try to chase a wild card spot. Anaheim is the path of no resistance right now, so I don't see that changing for this Minnesota team. I'm going to take them. I understand why John said what he said. Like, at some point they are due. Yes, they are going to win. That's just puck luck. But I don't think Minnesota's going to let that happen. And looking ahead for Anaheim, they do host the Blackhawks on Thursday. So I think there's one more loss for them before Frankie V and the boys get back on track. Ryan Stromtrooper, I miss him a little bit. Not really. But I'm taking the Wild -1.5. That's my point here.
All right, guys, we got one more garbage game to get through until we have some actually good hockey to talk about. A little bit of a lull in the slate between Montreal, Edmonton, Minnesota, Anaheim, and the scene of the crime on Friday night. The three of us were so high on the Chicago Blackhawks, not only covering a +1.5, but maybe even winning. And guess what? That was over within 7 minutes. The Los Angeles Kings put a beat down on the Chicago Blackhawks, and they play again tonight. The Chicago Blackhawks, oh my goodness, where are we here? Okay, here we go. Chicago Blackhawks are 295. Scratch that. They are now +300 on the road against the Kings, -380. The over is 5.5 at -115. The under is -105. Chicago +1.5 is +120. Kings -1.5 is -142. Connor Bedard to score a goal is +175. And Quentin Byfield I like at +225. Other than that, who cares? John, what do you think about this game tonight?
Oh, man. You took the words right out of my mouth, man. Scene of the crime, indeed. Man, that one stung. Can I just say that one stung. I feel like the Blackhawks have been hitting me with bee stings all year, for real. Like I'm just stunned all over the place from this team. Oh man, I could say every analogy in the book when it comes to the Blackhawks. They've just been a frustrating team to pick their games this year.
Yeah,
and I don't want to go tilt on this a little bit and just completely fade them here, but 375 does seem insane. I mean, come on. I know the Blackhawks are bad, but like, do we expect the Kings to do what they did again, back-to-back times?
I don't know. That's why I'm picking goal scorers, bro. Who knows, man? I'm done. I can't with these two teams. I'm done.
Maybe we should just pick a Connor to Bedard drop and go home.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I like
saying, man.
Kurashev.
Sorry.
Let's pick Kurashev.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like Kurashev.
Oh man, if I
Don't do it.
I can't. I really can't because like the puck line, the Blackhawks puck line is
broken.
plus 120. Like, how does that make any sense?
Put
How
the
does that
apple
make
down.
any sense?
Put the apple down. You already had a bite earlier.
Yeah, I've done it twice already today with 2.5. So no
right.
more. I'm done.
Put the apple
Maybe-
down.
Look, yeah, I'm done.
He's broken.
He's broken. The Blackhawks have broke our guy. That's so funny. All right. I'm gonna take the apple. I'm taking the apple out of your hand, Andre. What do you got in this game tonight, bro?
Yeah, this Kings team is frustrating because it seems like they just keep alternating wins where they score like 3, 4, 5 goals, and then losses where they only score 1. And we just caught them when they were due for the 5. And sure enough, again, they're apparently due for the 4 or the 5 because they only scored 1 goal in Dallas, a 4-1 loss. However, on Friday, we were foolish and forgot the Kings are worse at home. I, for whatever stupid reason, still believe in this Blackhawks team.
Oh my
5
god!
goals against Arizona, 7 against Arizona the next time, 7 against the Ducks, 5 against the Sharks. Don't acknowledge the teams that they played. Acknowledge that the boys are scoring. I'm taking the Blackhawks money line. I'm not taking. I took the puck line Friday. I'm taking the money line this time. I believe they will not deter me. The Kings are not as good at home. They're going to get redemption. Blackhawks.
Andre, let me ask: do you think this would be your biggest money line hit of the season if this hits?
I don't remember what. I don't remember what the Sharks were against the Oilers way back when. Or
not true. That was a big
the Sharks a few times. I'd have to check the Sharks schedule primarily, but possibly
this would
it'd be up there.
Yeah, that or Sharks, I think, is safe to say.
Yeah.
Right when I thought we were out of the woods talking about this game, I will say, Chicago against the Sharks. Bedard had 2 points, 0 points against the Kings because they got no goals, 4 points against the Ducks, 3 points against the Coyotes, 0 points against the Capitals, losing 4-1, 2 points against the Coyotes again. And then they got shut out against Colorado. Bedard got 0 points, 1 point against the Blue Jackets. Connor Bedard to get 1 point is minus 165. For him to get 2+ points is plus 320. Connor Bedard, 2+ points, plus 320, which seems like a lot. And I'll take John's apple and I will bite it myself, which is a weird thing to say now that it's left my mouth. But if you're watching this show for 20 minutes, you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm taking Connor Bedard 2+ points, plus 320. Get smoked by the Kings. You're going to score a couple goals tonight. Probably all going through Bedard. I love it. Count me in. All right. Let's talk about some real hockey games. Buffalo Sabres. My Buffalo Sabres are in Vancouver. Minus 198 favorites at home. Plus 164 are my Buffalo Sabres on the road. The over is 6 at minus 115. The under is minus 105. Plus 1.5 for Buffalo is minus 142. Minus 1.5 for the Canucks is plus 120. That game last night was an absolute beatdown by the Buffalo Sabres. Props to them for continuing their push to the playoffs. I have not forgotten that I am now financially tied to this team, which is not something I expected to say come March, but it's the truth. What can I say? Listen, Vancouver, the bottom line with Vancouver is they had an awesome beatdown of Winnipeg 2 Saturdays ago. Since then, they have only played twice, and they lost to Washington and they lost to Colorado in overtime a couple days before that. I think Vancouver, 4-game winning streak before that overtime loss to Colorado. I like them to win this game tonight. Buffalo played last night. I do like the under. I will say this, though. I'm going to take Vancouver on the 60-minute line. Let me just pull up what that was. Minus 135. I will not be surprised in the slightest if Vancouver lays a dud and Buffalo wins this game. I am going to take Vancouver. I'm going to pay the juice at minus 135. But let me just say, Buffalo's been surprising us a lot over the last few weeks. And listen, Vancouver, they've been inconsistent at best over the last couple months. This team was once a lock to get first seed in the West, and that's no longer the case. If they lose and Colorado or Winnipeg or both win tonight, then Vancouver is no longer the first seed. So I would not be surprised if Buffalo pulled out this win. I really wouldn't, but I do like Vancouver to win it in 60 minutes on minus 135. Just putting out a little disclaimer. Don't sleep on this Buffalo team tonight. John, what about you? What do you see here?
Glad you mentioned that, man, because remember that apple you took away from me in the last segment?
I do, yeah.
I'm grabbing it back and taking the Sabres money line here.
I love it. Love it.
I don't know, man. I just think the momentum's in the Sabres' favor here. And also, I think what the way the odds are laid out for this game kind of forces you to take a side if you're touching anything here. Because like the puck line for the Sabres, that was something I was really tempted to do looking at Vancouver's money line here, because I thought I would get an attractive puck line for the Sabres, but that's minus 142, and I think that says something here, because that doesn't add up to me with that plus Vancouver's minus 200 money line. I just don't think. I think that is a bit telling. I feel like the sports folks are convinced Buffalo is going to keep it close. And normally I would be scared of a back-to-back spot, but strangely, I feel like a team that's playing hot, it might actually be a good thing, especially considering Vancouver's been a bit cold recently. So I shouldn't say cold, but they haven't been great. I think I'm just gonna ride the hot hand here and do what the odds seem to be suggesting, and that's take the value in the Buffalo Sabres. Who would have thought I'd be saying that near Game 70 of the season against the team we used to love, Vancouver Canucks? And we need to have a side discussion about them on a less busy day, because my opinion's been changing on them recently compared to when we loved them.
Yeah. I just think that you expected dominance from them as the season went on, and now it's hard to know what you're going to get from them night to night. You know, they put a beat down on one of the best teams in the league in the Winnipeg Jets. And I know, like, I'm not going to continue. I know the Capitals, the team of destiny and blah, 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 but you got to win that game at home on Saturday night. You have to. Andre, what about you, man? What do you see here?
Yeah, John has the stones I wish I had, because the back-to-back component of this terrifies me. And it's probably the only reason I'm taking the Canucks puck line. Buffalo didn't play yesterday. I'd probably take them to win too, but second half of back-to-back, I know still Pacific Northwest, but they did have to travel, did have to cross the border. The Canucks are already, you would think, a better team than the Sabres, regardless of how well Buffalo's playing. They already went to Buffalo and beat this team. They shut out the Sabres, actually. So I'm going to take that puck line for Vancouver, and the back-to-back component for Buffalo is a driving factor for me.
The one thing that I'm going to add to this, and this is, do you guys remember at the beginning of the season when we first started this show? I was obsessed with Quinn Hughes' power play points. I was obsessed with it. Now, Quinn Hughes, over the last 6 games, he has points in every single game except for one, and that was against Colorado the other night. For him to get 2+ points tonight, not power play points, just 2+ points, is plus 255. I really do like that one tonight. On the power play side, he only has 2 power play points over his last 5 games. However, a lot like the Toronto Maple Leaf power play, Vancouver's power play is 11th in the league, and it is better than that. Buffalo's penalty kill is 17th in the league. I like a power play goal or 2 tonight, and for Quinn Hughes to get a power play point is plus 180. So I'm jumping back on board on some Quinn Hughes props. 2+ points, plus 255. Power play point, plus 180. What up, Dusty? Thanks for joining us, bro. Good to see you. All right, let's move on to our last game of the night. It's been a long road. We are finally here. Tampa Bay in Vegas. Vegas at minus 135 at home. Buffalo. Wow, I can't quit. I can't put down the Buffalo apple, so to speak, at plus 114 of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Let me just pull up these updated. Yep, minus 135 Vegas at home, plus 114 Tampa Bay. The over is 6.5 at minus 105. The under is minus 115. Minus 1.5 for Vegas is plus 180. Lightning plus 1.5, minus 218. I've already hinted to what I like in this game. Not even hinted. I've said it straight out what I like in this game, and I'll expand in a little bit. But first, Andre, let's go to you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
Yeah, we're in lockstep again because you said it earlier. I'm going to say it now. I love Tampa money line here.
Yeah, me too.
Their offense, I know they're better in Amali. It's always been a thing, or at least during this kind of dynasty run. But 7-0 against the Flyers. The Flyers, for all their struggles, have been a decent goaltending team. Great penalty kill this season. 7-0, 3 power play goals in that one. Hosted the Rangers a few days later, 6-3 comeback win in that one. Another power play goal against a good Rangers penalty kill. Then they went to Sunrise, took on the Panthers, best record in the league, took an early 4-0 lead. Power play goal against another good PK, ended up winning that one 5-3. This offense is on fire. Looking at what Vegas has done in their last 12 games, 8 of their opponents have scored at least 4 goals. They've fallen off a bit when it comes to getting stops. We've talked about it at length. They've also just been struggling lately in general. I think they only won 3 of those 12 games. So not playing too well. Hot Tampa team rolling into town. I like the Tampa plus 114. And a little teaser here. Over 3.5 goals is plus 150 for the Lightning. I think I'm going to parlay that with the Canes over 3.5 goals.
Ooh, I like
personal
it.
Life.
Yeah, no, I like it. John, what do you got for this game, bro?
I think I'm also on the Tampa Bay money line in this one, mainly because I think they're playing better right now than Vegas. I think Tampa Bay over the weekend impressed me, so maybe I'm still letting that sit in my head a little bit here. But I don't know. I just don't have the same trust in Vegas I once did. You know what I mean? Like first
For
half of the
sure.
year, like when we did our halfway through I think it was the New Year or the All Star show. I forget, but I think it was the New Year show. I felt like Vegas would be just fine. I still think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't know. I just have lost some trust in Vegas to be this efficient, dominant team. Whereas I still think Tampa Bay has it in them. I don't think they're quite the Stanley Cup champions of the past, but I still think they're a team that's capable of being ferocious when they need to be. So I think for those reasons and the offensive firepower Tampa Bay has in particular and their elite power play units, I'm going to take the Tampa Bay Lightning money line here. Interesting. I feel like getting that at plus, getting Tampa Bay at plus money right now, hard not to take them.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys, and I'm going to take this a step further. I can't see it on DraftKings. I'm just pulling up my I'm just pulling up. Sorry, boys. Give me just 2 seconds. I'm pulling up on FanDuel alternate puck line. I don't see it on here either. Here we go. Tampa Bay -1.5 is plus 265. And I might even go that far. Definitely a Tampa Bay money line, but I might even go puck line here on the opposite side. This is the reality of things. The teams that the Lightning have beat, Florida, that game against the Rangers, you watched it firsthand, Andre. That was Rangers all day, and Lightning just turned on the Jets and got that game and won it by 3 goals. That beatdown of Philadelphia, we've noted it often over the last couple weeks, beating Florida again on the weekend. Huge win. I really, really like the direction that this Tampa Bay team is going. And the one thing that I've always said about this Tampa Bay team, as much as we don't trust them, as much as I even if they make it to the playoffs, listen, they have the championship pedigree. I know that Vegas are the defending champs, but this Tampa Bay team, they're legit, clearly, and I like them to win tonight. Vegas, again, John, I'm sorry. I don't mean to kick you while you're down. It's not my intention. But they beat the Devils on Saturday. Okay. They beat Seattle. Okay. They beat Detroit. Sorry, Dusty, but we know what Detroit's been going through lately. They beat Toronto. Yes. That was a few days after Toronto laid a beat down on them. And in that stretch, Vegas lost a bunch of games in that stretch, and they were destined for a win. That's also a Monday night in Toronto, and early week games in Scotiabank Arena have been well documented by me. This Vegas team is going in a very backwards direction right now, and I completely expect Tampa Bay to take full advantage of that. Braden Point has 5 goals in his last 5 games. For him to score tonight is plus 155. On the Vegas side, Marchessault, he has been scoring at an elite pace over the last few months. He is plus 145 to score tonight, and I even like. Sorry, I had it up here. Where is it? Here we go. Sorry, dead air is no fun. Where is it? Plus 800 for Jonathan Marchessault to score 2+ goals. He's been their most consistent player by far. And so for him to score 2+ at plus 800, it should be way less than that. So I like that as well. Also, I'm not saying that this is something that is necessarily, I don't know, percentage wise or whatever, I'll just say what the books are saying right now. Okay. To make it to the playoffs, the Vegas Golden Knights are minus 1,200 to make it. That plus 700, if you feel any certain way about this Vegas team slipping, this is the day to take that number at plus 700. Because if they lose tonight, if St. Louis beats Colorado, Minnesota, they're right there on the heels of Vegas. And I legitimately think that there's a possibility we can be talking about this Vegas team golfing in a month's time. I don't know if I think they will or they won't, but it's not out of the question. They're not a lock to make it to the playoffs. That's just a fact. The plus side is if you are done for the playoffs and it is golfing season for you, there are few places that you would rather be than Vegas. So I guess you can look on that side of things if you want. All right, it is that time of the show. Let's move on to our best bets brought to you by First Round Collectibles. With our promo code, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. Our promo code is Sports Addict. Right now, First Round Collectibles has sales items up to 50% off, and with promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of sale of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. John, let's go to you first, dude. What do you see as your best bet in the NHL tonight?
Back when we hit the game on Long Island, I thought that was my favorite pick in the first half of our slate today. And besides me having a basically mental breakdown from the Blackhawks Kings game, I didn't really find anything much better on the slate, except maybe
that was so funny. That was so funny. Oh man!
Except maybe. Do I do this? The other thing I'm tempted to take one of the 2.5s I picked, but I feel like I should stick with Carolina. I do like this pick. Carolina puck line 1.5, not as crazy. Also, mentioned it before, fourth overall power play in the league against the worst penalty kill. Great offensive team as well overall in Carolina. I trust them to win by 2 there.
Very proud of you. Andre.
Can't have 2 mental breakdowns in one show.
Andre, what do you got, dude?
I'm proud of John there. Not going to 2.5. No, I know you really wanted to. It's a few games I keep going back to. I'm not sure what you're gonna take, Mark. Feel like we might be stepping on each other's toes here. If I take the Tampa money line. So
no, you're good.
Are you not?
No.
Oh, word. Then Lightning plus 114. There you go. We just talked about it, so I'm not going to repeat it. But offense is on fire. Team is on fire. They're beating good teams. Vegas is not playing well.
Love it. I really, really wish that alternate puck lines were available on DraftKings because I would take Nashville minus 2.5. I would once again take that apple back from John. It's not good 2024 to be sharing apples just with RSV and COVID and who knows else what's out there. I don't recommend sharing apples even with people that you trust, but you know what? I would take Nashville at minus 2.5. But since there are no odds available for that, I'm going to go back to something that treated us well last week. -1.5, the Minnesota Wild against the Anaheim Ducks, +114. I just think we talked about it recently. I won't dive too much back into it. I just think that this Minnesota team, do I think they'll make it to the playoffs? Probably not. But they're going to fight for this last month. They're going to be there right until the end. The Ducks have just been falling off a cliff. And I do think that the Minnesota Wild find a way to win this game by 2 or more goals. Also, John picks the Ducks, so that is good enough for me to pick the Wild at -1.5. That's my best bet.
I'm glad we're keeping our criteria consistent here. John, starting off with you, Canes -1.5. It was +164. I picked the Tampa Bay Lightning, sticking with the Southeast. That is +114 for the money line. Moving on to Mark, Minnesota Wild -1.5 in Anaheim. That's also +114. Altogether, +1109.
Absolutely love it. Repeat that number. Plus what?
+1109.
That's
1,109.
That's a bounce back if I ever saw it. And boy, do we need it. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us as always on this Tuesday. Long show, lots to get into. We'll be back tomorrow morning to break it all down. Plus 3 games in the NHL tomorrow night. Be safe with your betting and whatever else you're doing today. Shout out to Total Apex Sports. Thank you guys for having us. Thank you for watching on Sports Addict Live or Total Apex, YouTube or Twitter. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today, promo code Sports Addict. We will see you all tomorrow.